wake of Hamas' bloody rampage 2 weeks ago. About 20 trucks had crossed into Gaza on Saturday out of more than 200 trucks carrying roughly 300 tons of aid that have been positioned near the crossing for days. The head of the UN's World Food Program said the aid was insufficient, saying that the situation is catastrophic in Gaza, adding that 400 trucks were entering Gaza daily before the war. Gaza's 2.3 million Palestinians, half of whom have fled their homes, are rationing food and drinking dirty water. Hospitals say they are running low on medical supplies and fuel for emergency generators amid a territory-wide power blackout. Israel is still launching waves of airstrikes across Gaza that have destroyed entire neighborhoods as Palestinian militants have fired rocket barrages into Israel. The opening came after more than a week of high-level diplomacy by various mediators, including a visit to the region by U.S. President Joe Biden and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Israel had insisted that nothing would enter Gaza until Hamas release all of the captives from its attack, and the Palestinian side of the crossing had been shut down by Israeli airstrikes. Welcome back. With us live over the phone is Dr. Maha Mahgoub. She is consultant at the International Labour Organization. Good evening, Dr. Mahgoub.
Good evening.
How are you doing, Doctor?
Fine, thank you.
Of course, as we're witnessing the sad events that are taking place inside the Gaza Strip, those humanitarian aid trucks have been stranded even before the visit of U.S. President Joe Biden and the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, and other officials. They were stranded for almost 5 days. So they were only or opened, or the humanitarian aid was allowed only today. So exactly how important is that humanitarian aid arriving to Gaza Strip, especially with all we are hearing about the lack of the scarcity of food, the lack of food, the lack of water, the siege that they are under, even bombarding the hospitals there. Another hospital was also air-stricken. So how important is that aid to the Palestinian lives?
It's very important to deliver this aid to Palestinian people, as they are isolated right now and they have insufficient food, medical supplies, and so on. Immediately after the war broke out, Egypt mobilized massive efforts to send hundreds of tons of food, the medical supplies donated by Egyptian and various Arab governments to relieve the Palestinians in Gaza, who have been denied food, water, and fuel due to an Israeli all-out block of the Strip since the start of fight. So we had the first initiatives from the first Arab country to provide support and assistance to Palestinian brothers and sisters, Palestinian people.
Right. Also, we have noticed that a big part of this problem, and that's why it is escalating. I mean, the aggression is escalating and the atrocities are escalating every day, is that there is a big deal of global silence by countries who are observing the situation. And there is double standards also concerning that particular issue. People are silent. I mean, the countries are silent to what's happening in Gaza, but they are not silent when something happens in Ukraine, for example. So the global silence to the crimes against humanity, the killing of children, depriving the people there from their basic rights of food, water, and electricity, and even bombing the hospitals and all that. So how do you regard the global silence of the international community and the countries observing? Of course, on top of them is the United States.
Yes, of course. Because of the global silence, there was a very important initiative from President Sisi to hold the Cairo Summit for Peace, which has been held today. We hosted more than 24 leaders all over the world, from European Union, U.S., Arab countries, So the summit, which headed by the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, aims to support Palestinian cause, discuss future of peace process along to stopping escalation in Gaza Strip. The President Sisi reaffirmed that the need of the halt to ongoing fighting in Gaza as an urgent goal, and the revival of the peace process between Palestinian and Israel to reach the two-state solution whereby Palestinians can establish their state. As well, President Sisi has warned that the continuation of the war in Gaza could trigger the region-wide conflict and would have a devastating impact in the region. And most of delegates from all over the world have agreed that the war in Gaza pursues ceasefire and seek resolution to the long-standing Israel-Palestinian conflict by a two-state solution. So they discussed as well. The leaders discussed how the way is to escalate the ongoing war. Because this is, I'm so pleased about this initiative. As you mentioned, that most of countries of the worldwide, they are silent. How to proceed and how to get initiative, or how to get initiative to convince, even though to convince the whole world about Egyptian point of view for preventing
right.
Palestinians to come to Sinai.
Right. I have a final question on me, Dr. Maha, because it's almost as important, and we have very little time for this segment. Also, the Secretary General of the United Nations, I mean, of course, the United States and Israel always talk about Hamas and give a justification of Hamas as a terrorist, or they claim it's a terrorist organization or whatsoever, and that's why those strikes are a retaliation to Hamas aggression. But he said that what's happening inside Gaza is a collective punishment. So the idea of collective punishment is, could that justify, I mean, if there is terrorism that is inflicted somewhere, can I also act collective punishment on some people as a result?
Most of leaders agreed decide with the United Nations representative, the head of the United Nations, that it's a collective punishment for Palestinian people against civilians in Gaza Strip, and all threats and displacement of Gaza from their homeland to Egypt Sinai area.
Right.
So he clarified that the Hamas movement are terrorism, but at the same time, he assured that the right of innocent people, of Palestinian people, the civilians want to have the right to have a safe home, good food, and good shelter. He did not deny the right of Palestinian people to live a good life.
Right. So on that note, Dr. Mahgoub, you are a consultant at the International Labour Organization. Would like to thank you, sir. Thank you, Doctor, talking to Cairo Local Time, and you have a good evening. And by this, we come to the end of this edition of Cairo Local Time. Until we see you again tomorrow, that's a good evening to you. Please stay tuned for more coming up on Maha TV.